And we're live. Okay. Yeah. What? Good Lord, shining on you, Julia, with that light. Is it like that? Duck over here, with the lights. All right. So, welcome to episode 209 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got all the way in the UK with her mug and the meal that we won't discuss. Scorpion coming in to talk some Tim Burton tonight. And thank you very much, as always, for coming to hang out with us fucking troglodytes. You're always good company. Thank you. Good to see you. We've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here. Again, another person, always some good company.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us once again.
Of course.
And we've got John K. Alvarez, a.k.a. Cool Chris Kringle, because it's fucking cold out here. It could be cold Chris Kringle, and that would probably be more meteorologically accurate.
It was either that or Jerry Claus.
Yeah, let's not do that. So let's keep it on a positive note.
Yeah.
So welcome to episode 2 of I'm Having a Rough Christmas Presents, where we sat here and talked last year during the It's a Wonderful Life episode about, people, Christmas holidays can be a rough time. So I thought to make it a theme, thanks to Eric's small prompt that came in a text message. And so last week, we talked about something that was very much on the rough side. We talked about Chuck Norris and Invasion USA. But I wanted to come back this week, and we have some good movies that are lined up for the rest of the season. And to kick off with this one, which is, Tim Burton's Batman Returns. So if you guys are ready, shall we get it going?
Please.
Let's go.
Boogity boogity. So if you're looking for a different kind of Batman from what we're getting today, this movie is currently available on Max, but it's also just been licensed out to Tubi. So Tubi has the entire Burton and Schumacher verse, so to speak, of those movies, and you can watch them for free on there at any old time, depending on how you feel about them. This was the first time I had seen this particular movie in at least 20 years. And I just saw it this afternoon. Yeah, because at the time when these movies came out, and John and Julia, and I don't know where you were, Eric, at the time, especially the first movie and then the second movie. Well, the first movie especially, I personally was blown away.
Oh, yeah.
By how dark it was. It was just so dark. And you consider it for the time, that was as good as it got. So the fight scenes and the action sequences were just like, holy shit. You had never seen anything like this before. And then we went over to Schumacher, and things got kind of family friendly, and they became more comedic and silly. But they were popular nevertheless. And I saw them, many times. All the way into Batman and Robin, and then all of a sudden in 2000, we got the shift where the Batman Begins. And I was thinking about this as I was watching this, because there's so many recurring characters over the course of the entire Batman TV and movie universe. Going with Adam West, and then Keaton, and then Kilmer, and then Clooney, and then Bale. All the way to Affleck, and now Robert Pattinson. So, you have a variety of Batmans to pick from. Who's your favorite? It's like James Bond. Right. Who's your daddy?
Right.
You can go to Catwoman from the television series with Lee Merriweather and Eartha Kitt, and then we get to Michelle Pfeiffer, and then we get to Anne Hathaway, and then we get to Zoe Kravitz in the incarnation with Matt Reeves. The Penguin with Burgess Meredith, and we now DeVito, and then Robert Lord Taylor, who I thought did a fantastic
job. He was so
Gotham.
good in Gotham.
Robin.
I love Gotham.
Yeah, really, really good. And I should have mentioned the Selena Kyle from the Batman series. I left her out of the list.
Absolutely.
Really good
I'd
too.
just like to insert myself here.
Yeah, go right ahead.
I started the very first Robin Lord Taylor fan group.
Really? Did you really? Did you
There
really?
you go.
Yep.
He was
And
fantastic.
he endorsed it, which was very kind of him.
Very
Nice.
cool.
Very
He
nice.
And,
I've said it many times
and
how much
now
I
I'm no
love
longer on
Gotham.
Facebook. My friend Dawn is looking after the group, so it's still going.
Very nice. Very nice. I hope that I haven't seen much of anything from him since then. I hope that he's doing well because he's a hell of a performer. I really like that show. I got to buy it one of these days just to pick it up. I really loved how it went from goofy comedic to super dark, like from one scene to the next.
Yep. Right.
You know? And I liked their interpretation of him specifically, that he was sort of this lackey who just got slapped around.
Yeah, he was just an errand boy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then because it's the mob, he murders his way to
the top.
Yeah, all the way to come through to the last episode where he becomes just like the fat old man, like the Burgess Meredith kind of guy. And when he sees Batman swinging, he's like, "I'm going back. We can start a crime wave tomorrow."
Yeah,
I'm too old for this shit. We're not doing that kind of thing. But I mean, there have just been so many characters, and all the way now to Colin Farrell, who played the Penguin, and I think did a really great job. You didn't even recognize him.
I didn't recognize him until I saw the credits roll.
Right? Yeah, and then you find out that is actually going to get a Max series. The Penguin with Colin Farrell is in production now that the strike is over, and I think it's going to be great. I can't wait to watch it. I love Colin Farrell. And this idea that he's this sort of mob guy trying to scramble now that Falcone is gone, because I just saw Matt Reeves the Batman a couple of weeks ago again for the first time, and it's still pretty good. It's still pretty damn good, and he's really great. There's a lot, but here's my first question, and I'm going to go to Julia first. Not this movie, but the first one with Nicholson, would you consider that a family friendly movie?
Oh, good God, no. Maybe for older children, teenagers, definitely.
Okay.
But under the age of 12, I'd say probably not.
Well, I think when I saw it, it was 89, so I would have been about 20. I would have been about 20 when it dropped. So I don't have a child's point of view. I'm really fucking immature, but I don't have a child's point of view, so to speak. So I'm wondering, because when it went to Schumacher, this one I want to talk about in a minute was super fucking dark. There's some really dark fucking themes going on in this movie. Eric, what do you got? Was the first movie?
That's tough because if it was 89, I was 8. And, I'm a child of the 80s. Parents were different then. They didn't really give as much of a shit. Yeah. But I also grew up on pro wrestling. So to me, that's how my dad looked at it. It looked like just two guys fighting it out. You don't really, at that age, you don't really get to see the adult themes. Now, as a parent, would I let my 11-year-old daughter watch it? Yeah. But say, I don't know, like 6 or 7 may be a little too rough. Like, with a lot of the violence and like some of the, there's some gore with the facial scarring and stuff like that. But I might let it slide saying it could be, using the term kids film is kind of pushing it, but maybe 7, 8, 9 would be okay. You know what I mean? But
okay. John, what do you got?
Well, I don't have children, so it's all theoretical for me.
Yes, Eric's the only parent here. Eric's the only parent in the group right now.
Well,
go ahead.
I am not a parent, but at that time, I was an uncle of about 15 nieces and nephews that lived within a span of 4 or 5 miles of me. I was the guy they always called in to babysit.
Okay.
So, and the thing about it was, for movies like Batman, the Tim Burton's Batman, when it came out, I was told by the parents at the time, my sister or my sister-in-law or brother-in-law, no, they can't watch it. Because they were at a certain age. Now, when you guys were saying 11, 12, I'm going, okay, because it was more of a PG-13 movie and even geared the way it was geared. But these were kids that are like 4 or 5. And I remember one of my nephews watching it with my brother, and he goes, why is he just, this is the first Batman, why is he just smiling, Dad? It was when like the poison hit and one of the guys dropped dead.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I couldn't understand what was going on. And my father walked up and hit the pause button and said, why'd you go get I can have cookies? And he went running in, and my dad looked at my brother, goes, you need to make a decision. Because he was about 4 or 5, and he wasn't understanding that.
Yeah.
So you got to think of it that way, because when these movies came out a few years before that, Frank Miller did that brilliant, The Dark Knight Returns, graphic novel. They were calling them graphic novels at the time, where Batman came back after 10 years, and that was violent.
Yeah, it was brutal.
It was super violent. I just reread
don't let them see the Killing Joke, for heaven's sake.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty extreme.
Yeah, but that's the point. For some of them, to me, it was like a PG-13. Yes, that was fine for them. 10, 11, 12, yeah. It's close enough.
Mm-hmm.
If they were like 4 or 5 at the time, no, hold it back. This is not. It was funny because when it was Val Kilmer, my father was like, yeah, it's okay. Because he kind of like
it was more campy, like the Adam West stuff.
The violence.
And this was not without camp. This movie that we're talking about here was not without camp. Hold on a second. We got some comments here. Hey, we got Marty. Marty, if you want to come in, let me know. I'll DM you the link. Ahoy. Thank you, brother. Marty over there in Dublin saying, hey. John, you're a dead regular for Tim Allen's Santa. The Santa Claus.
I've been called worse, man. I'll take it.
Greg or Craig says, I saw it on TV for the first time when I was 11 and my brother was 7, which seemed about the right age for us. Okay, yeah. So it's situational.
Yeah.
And then Marty says, people give shit to Snyder for his Batman killing, but Keaton murders the fuck out of people in this one. Yeah. He's murdering people left and right. He murdered Nicholson. He kills Nicholson. People were dying left and right.
In this movie, he shoves a bomb down a guy's pants.
Yeah.
And then Greg says, wow, he really does look like Tim Allen. Okay.
Seriously, man, I have been called worse. I will take it.
Tim Allen. Everybody likes Tim Allen. So, I mean, this movie starts out extremely dark, a deformed baby. And I don't want to go through the entire chronology of the movie. That's really not how we cover movies anymore. But I mean, some really, really super dark themes. This abandoned baby that they drop over a bridge.
Yeah.
It's being taken in by animals, and it becomes, DeVito and who was the Stan Winston? Stan Winston's practical effects for him were fantastic, and DeVito just plays it so fucking feral.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to jump on that, take it from there.
I absolutely love.
He scared me.
Yeah, he's very scary to look at, and he's disgusting.
I'm very rarely scared by horror movies, which is why I like them so much. But Vito scared me. I actually got the cold chills from watching him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very, very, not just feral, but he's very disgusting. And the makeup effects are fantastic. I remember me and my wife we were at Planet Hollywood, at the Disney area for our honeymoon, actually. They got all the memorabilia. They had like Dorothy's dress from Wizard of Oz, and they had the Shining Axe, and they actually had the prosthetics that DeVito wore on the wall.
Oh, did they?
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I've always been a huge fan of DeVito. And this is like, because now he's known for Frank Reynolds on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia,
right.
This disgusting character. I think this character, as Penguin is even more disgusting. And I think you can tell that DeVito's just reveling in it. He's loving the fact that he can play this type of character who he can just go off like with the flip of a switch. You know what I mean? Right. He's like that one scene we'll jump ahead where he's eating the raw fish. You know what I mean? In a fucking dirty ass onesie, no gloves or anything like that. And then he's, slurping it. And then he makes that joke, to the one guy and that's out of nowhere, he just bites him on the nose. You know what I mean? In front of everybody.
At least it's not gushing blood.
Exactly. And he's just so good at being so vile.
Yeah, and like he's an obvious sexual predator too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
he's like an inch away from like pouncing on one of those women. Like any of the women that approach him, like if he had just leaped on her or any combination of them, you would not have been surprised.
When he's putting on the button, to run for mayor, and it's he wants to fondle her breast, but he puts just a little above it. You know what I mean? She gives that weird look. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, even when Keaton as Batman does the background check on him, because Alfred makes a comment about him saying, "What you have, you're gonna want to be the only depressed person who runs around in costume." They were talking about the circus where a teenage girl was raped, was attacked, and everything. If you're reading it, you're going, "Oh my god!" And I didn't catch that the first time when it first came out. Was when I saw him, oh my god, he really was this
he's a monster. He's a monster. Yeah, he really is.
He also had, in my opinion, probably one of the best opening lines, because everybody else in that movie in their introduction had a big thing, very dramatic and what have you. He just looked at Walken and went, "Hi." And that's how you first. It was as big. He just looked, and I remember in the movie theater when he was looking like that, and he just looked at him and went, "Hi." The whole movie theater busted out laughing because they weren't expecting that, out of this type of creature. How laid back almost he was, or casual with it,
comfortable.
Yeah,
and like we were saying, it's one of those things that it plays on several levels. Like you could watch it as a younger person, like when we first saw it, and like I didn't pick up on a lot of things. But like I just watched it today, I'm like, oh my god, like this isn't even a human being.
Yeah,
this is some sort of thing. This malformed.
Well, that his parents looked quite frightened when they tipped him over the bridge. They weren't getting rid of him because he was ugly. They were getting rid of him because they were afraid of him.
Yeah, you saw what he did to the cat.
Yeah.
He ate the cat. Yeah, they've got him in a cage. So, he's not been also, and I guess you couldn't make the nature nurture argument. What I don't really want to get
if anybody's ever seen It's Alive,
get
the feeling that he was that kind of baby.
Yeah. Oh, I think that Burton was doing. I usually don't like this term, but I think he was doing an homage to that, or setting it up that would be recalling you back to that, because that sounds like something that Burton would feel to play. To get you that feeling that you're not dealing with Burgess Meredith here. You're not seeing he had.
Yeah.
I mean, they even stuck the cigarette holder in his mouth and he spit it out.
Just spit it out. Yep.
They were. I think he went out of the way because Burgess Meredith, because that's the previous incarnation, except for the comic book. Right. He was dressed and was polite, and he went wah, 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 wah. He had the top hat and the whole. He didn't. I mean, even when he was cleaned up, he looked dirty.
Because that's when, like watching the old Adam West, you might have been inclined to think that this was okay to watch.
Right.
I grew up watching the old Burgess Meredith, Cesar Romero, Lee Merriweather, Adam West, and all these characters are like, oh, it's Batman. And then you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Unless you had been reading the comic books, which I had off and on, you would have been like, that's why I was just so blown away by it, because I like dark, gritty stuff. Now, compared to today, this seems a bit light by comparison, and we'll get into that too a little bit, because I think this movie struggled with tone. It vacillated back between being super dark and then it just went goofy all of a sudden, and it's like it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. But I mean, let's talk a little bit. We're going to get into the major characters, but let's talk about Keaton.
Oh yeah.
The intro. It might be my favorite Batman scene ever, where Gordon's like, "What are you waiting for? Hit the signal!" And they go into the home, and he's just sitting there in the dark.
He's just waiting.
Yeah, he's just sitting there in the dark, and you can't, like the opening scene in that huge room, like you can't even see him. It's like the darkness has just like completely swallowed him, and then that signal comes up, and
he's awake. He's up and moving. I remember again. That's another moment. I remember that moment from when I was seeing it in the movie theater, because it was like one of those old-fashioned 350, 400 movie theaters. at the time. When that happened and he stood up, the whole theater exploded in applause.
Oh yeah.
I'm like that because and again, it goes to the exact opposite entrance of Danny DeVito, which is very, slow key. He stands up and you were like, here we go, strap in. Here, we're going for a ride.
Looking back on it now, let's talk about Julia. Julia, what did you think of? What did you think of Keaton's performance then, and what do you think of it now?
What I think of it now is absolutely brilliant. He's more Batman than anybody else I've seen.
Okay.
Though you asked me my favorite Batman, I'd have to say it's Kevin Conroy from the animated series.
Okay, yeah.
If we're talking movie Batmans, it's Michael Keaton. He's Batman and he's Bruce Wayne.
I have to say,
he's also a very good actor. Full stop. I really rate him highly.
So do
I. I have to say, we got into it in the summer when the Flash broke out, and Eric remembers what Twitter was like during that particular week or so.
Yeah,
Twitter was pretty hot, but I have to say, seeing Keaton again, all those years later, and now that's on HBO Max. If you can, it was the best part of the movie. It was definitely the second half when Michael Keaton came back.
Oh yeah,
I was going to mention that later on, because the movie was called The Flash, but people kept talking more about him.
Yeah,
him coming back, and he nailed it right. He really did, in the movies where he portrayed Bruce Wayne. He just nailed the mood and the tone, especially what Burton was trying to set up. He was that hero. And he got so much grief when he was first announced playing Batman.
Because he was Mr. Mom.
Oh, yeah. He was
Mr. Mom. He was a comedic actor. Yeah.
Gung-Ho, or some of the comedies he did. They're like, he wasn't this, and then boom.
Because he wasn't an actor of action, and even looking at it now, we looked at it then, and I was blown away by this action. These fight scenes. Now I looked at it today, and I'm like, ooh, okay. Well, I can't judge it because that was the first. And now we've seen other things that are possible. Personally, my favorite Batman is Affleck.
I thought Affleck did a great job in it.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job too.
He got grief too.
But I think almost anyone is going to get grief now. It's almost like a thankless job, But then you go out and do it, and you're like, oh, okay, that's not bad. Hearing that Pattinson was going to do it, and people were like, but that wasn't bad either.
No.
But yeah, Keaton comes across. He's definitely. I don't know. How does he play it? Does he play it understated?
Here's how I looked at it. And when we just mentioned the scene where he's sitting in the dark. To me, I think he looks forward to being Batman because I think he's bored as Bruce Wayne. That's why he's waiting for that signal to happen. He's tired of, because you can tell he loves Selena. He's tired of the one night stands. He's tired of the board meetings. He's tired of this. He's tired of the public appearances. He feels some self-worth, I think. It gives him something to do. He goes out there, and you can tell he enjoys it. He likes beating the shit out of the clowns and stuff like that.
Game. Yeah.
And that's why I like Keaton a lot because, it's funny we're talking about Batman, but you feel for him. Like, one of my favorite scenes is when him and Selena realize who each other is.
Oh, yeah.
You feel for them.
Oh, yeah.
That is brilliant.
It's one of my favorite lines is when he says, "Do we fight now?"
Yeah, do we have to fight now? Is when she says it. Like you love how they're so awkward when he's trying. This is Bruce Wayne. He could buy anything in the world, but he's so awkward trying to ask her out on a date. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's because he really cares about her.
Yeah, and
it's real this time. It's not some tart he's picked up for a night. This is the real deal.
Right. And to me, that's endearing. You know what I mean? It reminds me of like how awkward the dinner scene is when he was with Vicky Vale.
Right.
They're on that long fucking table. You know what I mean?
Yes, the salt. What?
Yeah.
Keaton. I think when he goes to Keaton, there was an old adage that somebody turned around and said, they even pointed out in images in some of the comic book legend of it or portrayal of it. Batman's not the alternate identity. Bruce Wayne is. And I think Keaton got that that Bruce Wayne's
the mask.
Bruce Wayne's the character that he puts on. Batman is the real person.
Yeah.
The detective, being the detective, being the hero, being the vigilante, or whatever you want to present it. And Keaton played that really well.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed it because, and it's nothing against Ben Affleck, it's nothing against Christian Bale.
No.
He did it, or things like that. But when they were Batman, they were also Bruce Wayne. It wasn't much of a difference.
Yeah.
To him, he felt awkward playing Batman but he knew, Bruce Wayne, but he knew how to be Batman. He knew.
I think that what happened, especially by the time we got to the Nolan films, was that they just kept getting darker.
Right.
They just kept getting, like Batman Begins, like the first 5 minutes of Batman Begins is so fucking dark, where he's in the prison and then Liam Neeson is waiting for him in the prison cell. You're like, what the fuck is this? And like, it's just this beautiful script. It's just, but the problem was that, it just kept getting darker. And then by the time you got to the Snyderverse, it was super dark. He was branding people, so there was no difference anymore between between Wayne and Batman, whereas here, starting off what we thought was dark, 30 years ago has actually, there's quite a bit of contrast and duality. There's a lot of duality in this movie. I mean, if you look at it between, and we'll get into Michelle Pfeiffer in a second, between her and Keaton, because whereas Batman, was a victim at one point, is looking for justice. She just wants to kill people. She wants revenge. Yeah. She wants vengeance of all the men who have slighted her, men in general, this sort of thing. And she's just taking it out on whoever happens to be in her path. You look at the difference between, and this is who I want to talk about next, Walken, where, Max Schreck, where he's just a psychotic capitalist versus, a very moral, that one scene that they have in the boardroom between Keaton and Walken, and, it's just such a contrast. They're both these super billionaires, but one of them is just a maniac, and the other guy has a clear moral center about doing what's right for as many people as possible. Right. And then, hey, we can make some money too. Whereas Walken says, that you can never have too much power, Like if my life has a meaning, that's the meaning, you can never have too much.
That was the scene where when Keaton did Bruce Wayne, that was the closest to being Batman until Selena Carlisle walked in and he got, but when he threw the book at him, my team did a research. Team didn't do a research. He did it. And you knew it. It was kind of like it was, but it was being that, but again, it's for the right reasons type deal. He was being the hero at the time. And it was. Walken was such the opposite of what Bruce Wayne was. It was quite literally, you saw the line in the middle.
I think one of my complaints about this movie is that Walken is so prominent in the first half of the movie.
Right.
And for me, even with Michelle Pfeiffer, with the exception of the one scene, I think, where she walks in on he and Keaton, when they're almost about to like get into a pushy shove thing, it almost looks like he steals every scene from everyone.
Oh yeah,
we talked about this I think last week, where I think John, you were saying because of the strength of Pfeiffer's performance, because of DeVito and Keaton, it's easy to overlook Walken.
Right.
And he's so fucking evil. He's like Scrooge, like up to the nth degree.
Oh yeah.
It was like if Scrooge gave the finger to the three spirits. He was like, he made that decision. That's great. Good.
Yeah. There's a great scene between him and DeVito where DeVito's like Jacob Marley, like going through all his wrongdoings. The toxic sludge. And he's like, I don't know where you got that from. He just denies everything.
You flush it, I flaunt it. I love when DeVito holds up the shredded paper and he's just like, a little tape and a lot of patience. You know what I mean? So he's been watching it. And what I love about that is, like you said, Walken is still denying everything. He knows he's caught red-handed, but he's like, nope, you can't prove that's me. And then he pulls out like a severed hand. You want to see what other body parts I got down here?
Hey, remember me?
I'm your partner's severed hand. Yeah.
But what I love is this is pre-goofy Walken. You know what I mean? There's two types of Christopher Walken, because now he's, I hate to see it, he's kind of a parody of himself. You know, once he was on Saturday Night Live, now he's like these over-the-top, goofy as shit characters.
Right.
Excuse me. Go to the 80s, 70s, right here.
Yeah.
It's a completely different type of acting he does. And he's what I love about him. First off, I love the look, that white hair.
Oh, yeah.
He looks so fucking awesome. But this is a guy that has no problem just because she forgot his fucking speech. He'll shove a woman out of a window. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not because she forgot his speech. Surely it was because she'd found something out about his dark dealings. That's what I got.
Okay, is that what it was?
When he leaned into his son, saying, "Remind me to fire her." Because he forgot the speech, and she didn't remind to give it to him.
She comes back in the middle of the night to prep him for the Bruce Wayne meeting for her own research, so she can prep him. And she breaks into his protected files.
That's right.
Right.
And, like, the look on his face where he goes from friendly to like frightening.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
He does this thing with his face, and like it's very subtle. Yeah, John, you and I have talked about Walken so many times.
Yeah.
Doing nothing and making it look interesting.
Making it look interesting. I mean,
Go ahead, Julia.
Go ahead, Julia.
Sorry, just saying that was a sign of a good actor, to do nothing and totally dominate. And Tommy Lee Jones does that in JFK, by the way. Exactly. He can be in the background whilst Kevin Costner's delivering a speech in the foreground, and you're absolutely riveted to Tommy Lee Jones to see what he's going to do.
I mean,
JFK, I haven't thought about that in a while.
When he looked at Michelle Pfeiffer in the one scene, and when she goes, you can push me out the window, and he goes, yeah, I can, and then got serious and pushed her out the window. But
he faked her out. He faked her out first.
Yeah, that's what I love. I got you.
He faked her out.
Yeah, and that's when she was laughing. Yeah. Boom. You know, but it was just, and he, for lack of a better term, he's like an asp or a snake, a cobra, something like la la la, boom. You know, when he plays his part, and he's really good.
We had started talking about Walken with another Burton movie when we started talking about Sleepy Hollow. He has no lines. And there's no lines in Sleepy Hollow, but every time he's on this, his face is there. Not the Horseman, but Walken. Walken's only in it for about 10 minutes. You are just absolutely riveted to a man who has no lines. You're just looking at pure facial expression, and you're like, this is absolutely the best part of the film.
But you guys also talked about him in the Dead Zone, and he's fantastic in that.
Oh God,
that's a whole different type of character, and still with that intensity that he brings. That real, I mean, it's an overused term, but there is like a realism to it. I mean, you were talking about Michael Keaton underplaying. Is he underplaying the part of Bruce Wayne or a Batman? As big and showy as Burton can be, especially in his heyday. And all that, him, even Michelle Pfeiffer, and Christopher Walken bring a believability to the characters, and that's what I think makes them, even 30, 40 some odd years later, you know, or how long it's been later, it's endearing, and you get pulled to it. Even Danny DeVito and all that prosthetics, there's moments in it that you're going, you know, I actually felt bad for him when all of a sudden, my babies, towards the end when he was, you know, seeing what was happening to the Penguins, type deal. Well, he was
going to blow off anyway, so good Lord.
But he could have went even more so than he did, and he knew when to pull it back. These guys, Tim Burton should get a lot of credit for casting in this movie.
They don't focus on it a great deal, but he clearly
did he cast them himself, or did he use a casting agent?
I think it was a
people even use casting agents back then.
Yeah, but I think it was also a combination of both. Burton had a feel if he was not comfortable with people, he didn't work with them. Well, not that he didn't work with them, but the parts weren't overly big, type deal. Like he said, he loved Jan Hooks, who had a bit part in this movie. as one of the political consultants because she said she was funnier than hell, and she knew how to play the part. But that's what he said. He goes, he liked working with her. Same thing with Keaton. He liked working with Keaton a lot. That's why when he picked him for Beetlejuice, when he made that decision, that's why he wanted him to do Batman. Burton is one of the old-fashioned type people. He trusts people. Why do you think he could talk Christopher Walken into doing the Headless Horseman and having no lines if he couldn't say, "But I need you to pull this off"?
True.
That's a sign of also a good director or somebody who's helming the story type deal.
I'm not always necessarily. I mean, I can. For me, Burton movies are hit or miss.
Yeah.
I like Sleepy Hollow. I love Big Fish.
Same here.
I think that's just a masterpiece.
I loved Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd is very good.
Sweeney Todd's good. I have a really good Sweeney Todd, and it's not a musical or anything like that with Ray Winstone. And it is fucking brutal. That's a brutal movie. Yeah.
Which one's that?
Huh?
Which one's that? Ray Winstone? I'm sorry, I can't. In which film?
He's got a version of Sweeney Todd.
Really? I thought it was Johnny Depp.
Well, there is a Johnny Depp, but there's also this one. Hold on.
One's a music. That one's not a musical, is it?
No, it's not a musical at all. It is brutal. A director's cut. I found this at my local library. And it is oh, hold on. I took Julie out for a second. I found it at my local library for like $1. It is fantastic. It is brutal. It's a British, BBC version. Yeah,
it's a very brutal story too.
Yeah, it is.
I haven't seen that, but I have seen the Todd Slaughter version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get
out on YouTube. You can find Christopher Lee as he sang the part.
Oh, jeez.
A stage musical, and he's brilliant.
Oh, it's Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
I really do love Christopher Lee.
Let's get to Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yes.
Michelle Pfeiffer has so many 5-star performances, 5-star roles in her career. It's difficult to pick out just one. And there was a time there when everything she did just sort of maybe the late 80s, mid 90s sort of thing. Everything she touched was like Midas. It just turned to gold. This has to be in the top tier, though.
I agree.
Although it's not, one of the more dramatic, overtly dramatic sorts of things that she's known for, because she's worked with Daniel Day-Lewis and she's worked with everybody. But this is just fantastic, where she starts out she starts out playing the mouse. This sort of victimized, meek. All these men, and they're just, abusing her. Like you couldn't make a Catwoman because the very next Catwoman we saw, I think, was Anne Hathaway.
Right.
And it starts out in the third movie, she's already kicking the can out from Christian Bale.
Right.
It's a completely different interpretation of who Selena Kyle is. And then you get to Matt Reeves, where she's, kind of the hustler working in a mob bar. This sort of thing. Here, it's a very specific sort of feministic role where, these domineering men, they're very patronizing to her. She, raises her hand one time. I have a suggestion, and everybody just laughs at her.
Yeah.
And Walton says, "I'm sorry, we haven't housebroken." As Kyle, you're like, "Fuck, man!"
This
this
horrible line.
Yeah, just brutal. You could never write something like that today.
That's right.
And he pays her shit. I mean, if you are the secretary to somebody as high powered as him, you can get a lot of money for that. But she's living in a hovel. So he's not paying her decently either.
No, and she's got she has no personal life. It's a wreck. Her mother's calling her and nagging her all the time. She has a Christmas getaway planned where the guy just bails on her, at the last
Hard
second.
to believe that you can't get dates. It is Michelle Pfeiffer.
Well, I loved how I think there's a line that's in the movie, Mike. Were you going to say that?
Well, you go ahead.
When you hear the recording voice of the guy saying that getaway weekend for the holiday.
Yeah, I'm going to be finding myself or something like that.
And then she makes a comment, I should have let him win that last racquetball game.
Racquetball match.
And I love that because I'm like, I should have let him win that last racquetball game because that's what she's thinking. Oh, I beat him in the game and he got insulted. I mean,
he got intimidated or something like that.
Intimidated.
Well, it shows that she's got nothing going in her life. You know, she comes home and there's that ongoing joke, honey, I'm home. Oh, that's right, I'm not married. All she's got is her cats. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Hold on a second. We got some comments here, and he's been going on for a while now. So let's get some of these in. Greg says he had a brilliant casting agent in Marion Doherty. Okay. She was the one that convinced him to cast Chris Walken. Initially, Burton didn't want to cast Walken because he was, quote, scared of him. I mean, Walken's coming off The Deer Hunter. He's coming off King of New York, Dogs of War, these types of movies. Like you said, you know, he hadn't moved into that other era of Walken acting. You know, that's a little, you know, more on the, you know, frenzied side, you know, the shouting version. He had a shouting like phase like Al Pacino did in the 90s. Burton did the Johnny Depp version. He did the Johnny Depp version. Morgan Scorpion, you're 100% correct. Tim Burton did the Johnny Depp version. By the way, are you in the UK? You have a distinct British accent. I'm a Brit too. So
in the UK.
She is in the UK. She is in the UK. The rest of us are right here in the good old.
We're just peasants in the. We're just.
We're the breakaway. We're the breakaway. We're the colonialists. That's it. So, but I mean, the transformation, and again, her duality from going to the mouse to a dominatrix. She becomes a dominatrix. You know, she goes full BDSM. You know, with the outfit and the staples and the whip. You know, and the know the claws, and she just is ripping and tearing and robbing, and she's just anarchy. She's like
that's itself. One of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. First off, it's creepy as hell watching her, you know, twitch and seizure out as the cats are eating her fingers. You know what I mean? That's scary shit. But when she goes into her apartment after this transformation, she breaks the lights that say hello there, and it says hell here. You know what I mean? She's just drinking the milk out of the carton, and it's going down the sides of her face. She's throwing all of her stuffed animals because, you know, again, she lives by herself. All she's got is cats and stuffed animals, and she's throwing them in the garbage disposal. And when she is, what I love is, you know, it's just Michelle Pfeiffer just being so fucking good. Little things that she does when she's putting the suit together. She's just sticking her tongue out. You know what I mean? Like a little kid when they're coloring. You know what I mean? Because they're concentrating too hard. She is enjoying what she's making. And just the way she looks at that thimble with the little spike on it. Like, you know, she's admiring her work. It's great shit that she's doing, you know, just with her body language.
I even loved it when she was painting the walls black.
Well, because
it was very pink and she was taking it away.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about how pink the apartment was. It's all pink and girly, and you know, she's like having this banter with the cat, you know, back and forth, you know, this, that, or the other, and then all of a sudden everything just goes fucking black.
Yeah,
right.
You know, and you're just like, oh, this person has fucking flipped the switch, and her first appearance as Catwoman is saving a woman from a rapist.
Hold on one second. I want to say one more thing. Is, you know, she is this meek, you know, intimidated woman in the beginning, but once she makes that transformation, we see the silhouette of her in costume. Her body language has changed. Her voice has changed. You know what I mean? She's more seductive, and she's like, oh, what is it? She says, oh, Miss Kitty, I feel much yummier. You know what I mean? So it's a complete change. And that's what I love about her performance, and that she can go back and forth from, because when she's Selena, she's still got to be a little meek, but she still is more rough around the edges now. But then when she's in the suit, it's a completely different person.
Well, what I thought was interesting. Go ahead, Julia.
To draw from this to real life stuff, following a severe injury or a near-death experience, it's not unusual for the subject to undergo a strong personality change. And I actually saw that happen with a couple of friends of mine who were involved in the same car crash back in the 80s. There's 3 people I knew in the car, 1 person I didn't. And two of them ended up in a coma. The two that ended up in a coma, one was he was unconscious for 3 days. He went from being a very neat, very well-behaved, clean. He was a clean person. He didn't swear. He didn't do drugs. He was always very neat and clean in his appearance. But at the end of it, he became a very disheveled person, but also a very foul-mouthed person. Completely abandoned any care of his looks or appearance. And the other was a woman, very lovely woman, but she'd always been an uptight sort, frosty blonde. And she was actually, I'm not sure how long she was in the coma for, but she was in intensive care for 3 months. She was that badly injured. But she came out the other end, a happy, lively person. So she went from being this miserable, uptight, fake blonde to a really happy, lively, engaged, fun person. And still a blonde, just not bleached. It's white, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Darker shade of blonde. But so one of them came out of it, changed much for the worse. And the other one came out of it, changed much for the better. I know this is anecdotal. I don't know if there's any sort of scientific evidence that talks about personality change following severe head injury, but it happens, you know, so it's actually very plausible. It's almost as if what Greg said there about trauma can change people irrevocably, is that as if, well, this personality resulted in me nearly dying, so different personality, see if that one works better. And
I can attest to that from my own experience, because when I was 14 and in a car accident, I died twice. I woke up in the morgue. And before that time, I was Michael will love this, I was soft-spoken. I was very shy. I was never outgoing. I mean, I was friendly and all, but I was, after that, that's, for lack of a better term, that's why I'm like, yeah, let's try this. Not in like, I got to do drugs, but there's a new adventure. Let's go here, type deal. It can affect you in a certain way. And when it comes to, in the case of Celine Carlisle, it's the exact opposite of what she was. Yeah. The mouse became the mouse that roared.
And that's her first line, I'm Catwoman, hear me roar, which is the famous feminist sort of line, anthem. But what really got me was in that scene that I was talking about where she's saving that woman. She not only beats the guy up and slashes his face to shit, she attacks the woman for being weak.
She berates her, Yeah,
you make it so easy for them.
Yeah, you want someone to come along and save you, some Batman, this sort of thing. So, like, this rage is just like, touching everyone. And it's just such a great character. It's a great character, and you couldn't have gotten, especially for that time frame, I don't think anyone to play it better.
Right. And she's also very playful. Like, you see how vicious she is in that scene, and then future scenes when she's fighting Bruce Wayne or Batman or whatever. But then when she's in the department store and she's literally skipping rope with her whip and having fun having fun putting the hairspray in the microwave and stuff like that. She's also, there's so much to this character. She's not just a one note, air quotes, bad guy. You know what I mean? There's so much to her, and that's what I love, because you don't know what she's getting with each scene.
And she's overtly sexual.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just like the way she is with, like the way she is when DeVito walks in, they're like, somebody is in the room for you, that guy. And she's just all curled up and like her ass is sticking up in the air and like all these different things. And finally, DeVito gets pissed off.
Yeah, but she's not actually up for it, though, is she?
No, she's not.
All the signals, but she's not up for it. She's,
it becomes, a completely. She's using her sexuality.
She's manipulated him.
Right.
Yeah. She's
I don't think she's even using her sexuality. She's using his sexuality.
She's taking the vibe off of him when he's feeding her.
I think only women would think something like that. But all right, I don't know about that. I mean, she's using what she has to maneuver him, to get what she wants, to even just get that necessarily response or some sort of validation
I think what it is,
she's not interested in him at all.
Right. She knows he's a sexual deviant, but she's using her sexuality to get him to agree to what she wants. And she likes playing.
Using her.
What's that?
She's using her body, not her sexuality. If she was using her sexuality, she'd be wanting to have sex with him. She doesn't want to have sex with him. She wants to control him.
Right. I can see that. And keeping him in line is
that way. And she finds that doesn't actually work.
That sounds like splitting hairs, but okay. It sounds
like even when
splitting hairs, but
like even when she ate the bird, and Danny DeVito went for the cat, and all of a sudden she went, whoop! She knew how far she could go.
Yeah,
I mean, she was. To me, it felt like she was also testing the boundaries of how far she can go with him.
He reads her a little bit too, and he calls her somebody who's just been like rejected or something like daddy didn't do something for you. And it's not daddy.
You didn't get the pony when you were sweet 16.
Yeah, it's close enough, that the men thing, pushes a button in her and her face becomes completely serious. Like all the playfulness goes away. And she just looks at him like, what the fuck did you just say to me? And then they start to get into it with the pets.
But one of my favorite lines is
she still fucks with him afterwards because she says, I feel dirty, I need a bath. And then, he's kind of getting excited, but then she's licking the back of her hand and wiping her head type of thing like a cat.
Yeah.
So.
Which finally comes to a culmination when they meet on the top of the building, and she just overtly rejects him and then he tries to kill her. This is again, this is one of those movies you could see 30 years ago and not necessarily pick up on too much of it, but you look at it now and you're like, this is fucked up. What the fuck kind of, hold on. When she's sexually liberated, but he interprets it as a come on. Okay.
Well, no, it's like when she was with Keaton. When she first meets Keaton on the roof.
Yeah, but she actually does want him.
But that's the point. When she was touching, this isn't you. And when she got past the body armor, now I find you. And the first thing she does is strike.
Yeah.
I just thought one thing. If you were going to be a superhero and you were going to go out fighting and you were going to wear body armor, wouldn't you have some protection down there? Wouldn't you? I mean, wouldn't that be like the most important bit to protect?
Yeah, but
so you don't get disemboweled.
Ribs she went on the side of the ribs at that time, and then again, that was also in Christopher Nolan too. He was doing the outfit. He goes,
"I give you
ability, but you're going to a person can stick a knife in you." Type deal. You have to.
Yeah, the whole Batman armor thing has been back and forth until we got to Snyder. And he made Batman so fucking I mean, that outfit was just like nothing. I mean, and then you get all the way to the you get to Matt Reeves, where I think he's being shot at with an automatic rifle, taking a dead center in the chest.
Right,
and it's just
he's a tank by Robert Pattinson time. Yeah,
but I mean, Christ, that was one of my favorite lines of all things. I'm really stretching it. My apologies. On a TV show, The Big Bang Theory, when they picked up Adam West as a birthday party and they were talking about the different Batmans, he goes, I didn't need no body armor. You was all Adam West when I did it. And I started laughing out loud because I'm like,
but then of course the Joker wasn't exactly that dangerous, was he?
Oh yeah, but that's
not only we're talking the Adam West or the Batman. I mean, none of them were particularly homicidal.
Oh yeah, but that was but then again, that neither were any of the villains in the comics either homicidal.
Well, I mean. Adam West was always critical about. I don't even think he liked Burton's Batman. He said that was too dark. He said that was too dark. So
there's a lot of people who felt it was too dark.
Yeah, there are always people that are going to land on.
That's why he didn't get the third film. That's why the third film was so much lighter.
There's people who looked at Christopher Nolan who liked Tim Burton that I know personally. Tim Burton's version. They looked at Christopher Nolan's version and went, "Oh, that's too dark."
There's a great meme. There's a great meme. I got to dig. Maybe I'll find it in the middle of the conversation. I'll post it up here as an overlay. But it's all the different Batman starting from Adam West. And every time they bring in the new Batman, they go to Keaton. It's a little darker. Like they literally kill the brightness, and then they get to Bale, and then they get by the time they get the patents in, you can barely see them, and then they go to 2025, and it's just a black square. You know, so as far as when I always post that, I said it's still not dark enough. So as far as I'm concerned, it could it's still not dark enough. Still not dark enough. No problem. But yeah, I mean, someone like Adam West isn't going to be. It's too much of a generation gap. Yeah, there's probably 2 generations, of gap between him and somebody like Keaton or Bale. Forget about it. That's probably
it's 30 years.
He's not going to be able to relate.
It's 30 years from West to Keaton.
The funny thing about it was at the end of the discussion, somebody turned around and said, "Well, we can all hope that Affleck does a good job because he was coming out with Batman versus Superman." Yeah. And Adam West goes, "Who's Affleck?" And I laughed out loud. I'm like, this was whoever wrote it was very, very funny to take in consideration that it was generations upon generations.
Speaking about generations, I wouldn't know Ben Affleck if he came and knocked on my doorbell. So, I'm pretty much in the same boat as Adam West.
Yeah.
How could you not know who Ben Affleck is?
Because I've never seen anything that he's been in, to the best of my knowledge.
Really? Wow.
You got a lot to catch up on. He's got an impressive roster. He's an impressive. He doesn't do horror movies. But he is my favorite Batman. All right, so I mean, you've got all these great performances, but I do have some criticisms of the film. Okay. One that I talked about where I said, I think there were things in here that were unnecessary, and I don't know if Burton put them in because he wanted to make a Burton movie. But like the circus gang. Every time the circus gang showed up, it was just completely different. The tone. It seemed to struggle too much. You would go from, like Oswald wants to kill all the firstborn of the rich. I'm like, fuck, that's dark. Right. I mean, that's like the Book of Exodus dark. That's like a Book of Matthew dark. Like something King Herod would do. Yeah. And then one of his under 2 years old, and then they got that guy rolling out in that stupid train, right? And it loses all of its feeling,
right?
I think they might have done it just to be a little bit, not so it's as like just have a little bit of nods to how goofy previous versions of it, because he's not this dark in the comics to my knowledge, and then we have the Burgess Meredith thing, so I think they try to be a little light just to make a little bit of a nod to the previous versions.
Well, I think it's simply this, is that the Penguin couldn't do everything all by himself. He had to have his sort of bunch of henchmen,
his gang.
I could have. I'm looking at it, and I don't make films, so I'm just talking here from 30 plus years later. I would have been fine if you had a film with just with Walken, with DeVito and Michelle Pfeiffer. Hell, I would have been okay if you had just made a movie with Catwoman and Walken.
Right.
You could have almost made a completely. That would have been a fantastic fucking movie. I mean, she just would have been raging. This raging fucking Catwoman. This target. That maybe Keaton almost has to protect. Because he doesn't stand for vengeance. And he comes clean at the end and he tells her, let's just call the cops and go home. Let's just notify the police. Let's turn him over. He's caught. He's busted. He's done. You don't need to kill people like this. That sort of thing. You could have just made a movie like that and then had a separate movie about Cobblepot. Where he's just a raging feral fucking, everything.
I think, Mike, and this is purely my opinion of it, and if you don't agree with it, it's cool. But I think the reason why you had Cobblepot and the circus, one, the first movie with Burton, and it goes to your argument, maybe Burton put it in because Burton put it in, the Joker also had a gang. So it could be the fact that they would have tried to keep that similar theme with it. And two, I know 2 people, not with this movie, they find circuses creepy. There's like a distinct thing about them, or like a carnival atmosphere when they come in rolling into town. It's creepy, and to them, Something Wicked This Way Comes, the Ray Bradbury book, refers of using the carnival to move these things in. That could be, again, another type of homage to it. I'm not saying it was good. It might not be as strong as it could have been. But I think it adds to the fact that it showed the chaos that was going on.
It makes sense the way the gang looked. You had the creepy painted clowns. You had people in skeleton masks, skulls on motorcycles. So it adds to it. But it also, you have that one scene where they fake the kidnapping of the baby. So this way Cobblepot can look like the hero. So they do kind of serve their purpose. I mean, one of my favorite scenes is when he decides he's going to do all this to the firstborn children, and then one clown kind of protests, and then boom.
Isn't that a little? And he just shoots him. Boom! No, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's what it. Yeah.
It had a theme of Moses. I felt through it too, man, because like even when they threw the carriage in the sewer,
in the basket, it's like evil Moses. It's weird. I just,
I agree with you.
I think you're looking back at it 30 years later, understanding everything that's happened afterwards with Nolan, Snyder, now Matt Reeves, the animated, everything that the DC animated universe has done. And those are some motherfuckers. Those are some of the best things that DC has done.
Yes.
And it's easy to look back and say, well, that was unnecessary. But at the time, I think we were looking at the limits of what was creatively possible.
Right.
Or, or the limits of how far people were willing to go creatively. We were 10 years away from something like we were 6 years away from something like Blade.
Right.
Which is probably one of the best comic book adaptations of a film
I agree.
Out there. Gory, nasty as fuck vampire film. Tracy Lords, in the first 5 minutes. I mean, just blood biting people's throats out. And, when you make the leap from like maybe this or the Schumacher films to that, and then, it's like it's in the air now, we can do that. Okay. Well, Raimi is going to get a hold of some Spider-Man now. Okay. Bryan Singer is going to get a hold of some X-Men now.
Yeah.
And then further as we go down the road, Nolan's going to get a hold of something. Oh, well, that's possible. Okay, well, I'm going to do this. And then, you look at it in Favreau, he gets a hold of, he casts Robert Downey Jr., and then the MCU takes off. But I think someone has to take that creative leap, that risk, for all the other filmmakers to say, oh, okay, we can do that. Okay, well, now that we're at this level, I can take it someplace else. But back in 92, Burton had taken it as far as anyone was going to take it.
But actually, go ahead, John.
I mean, actually, to stay on your theme, Mike, and I agree with that, because in this movie, when I rewatched it again today, I sat there and I said, even though all the three villains were great, after a while, it was like, all right, somebody pick a villain, And it was the same thing when Schumacher did it. All of a sudden, the villains were there was a bunch of them. All of a sudden, the first movie, it was Batman and Joker. When Tim Burton did it, you good and evil, boom, boom. Burton did it, I think, to up the ante,
right?
And I agree. Sometimes it got confusing. I think it would have been better with Christopher Walken and Michelle Pfeiffer's characters. But then you had, Schumacher, who said, "Well, let's go really big with it." And that's the one thing I got to give credit to when Christopher Nolan took over the series. He again brought it back to one villain. There were other side villains, but there was one main thrust.
A lot of the stuff with Schumacher, the reason why it is more colorful and, I don't know, kid friendly or whatever, is because of merchandising. Because Batman Returns was so dark. Like they were losing merchandising because people were pulling out. I remember like McDonald's. Remember they, back then, they always had movie tie-ins. When they finally saw the finished product and they saw how violent it was, sexual it was, they pulled out of advertising, and that was a big no-no for them. So that's why they changed the tone with Schumacher stuff and made it more campy and goofy.
Yeah, so unfortunately, it killed the franchise.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I think that is why subsequent Batman films went dark, was because they saw just how Schumacher managed to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall anybody liking the fourth Batman film in that series.
No, it's one of the. That is a weird movie. Where for me personally, we're talking Batman and Robin. I want to like that movie. I want to like it. I have the same relationship with that movie that I have with Stoker's Dracula, with Joe John Stone's The Wolfman. I want to like it. I want it to be good. I can't tell you how many times I've sat down, and not for a very long time because I gave up on it. I threw in the towel. But for a long time, I wanted to watch it and say, okay, this time it's going to be good.
The thing I'll say about Batman and Robin, if I sit down and I watch it and I look at it in the tone that they're trying to be campy, like Adam West, like a 60s version of Batman, I'm not going to say I'm going to love it, but I can turn the brain off and enjoy it for what it is. It's dumb as shit, you know what I mean? But I can laugh at Arnold trying to be intimidating, but he comes off dumb as hell. Uma Thurman, God bless her, is trying her best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I look at it like it's trying to be more Adam West, Batman 66, I can kind of go with it. But it's still a huge fucking drop in quality, even from Batman Returns.
Yeah, and I thought Batman Forever, I thought that was terrible.
It was terrible, but it just wasn't nearly as wasn't even close to as good as Batman.
I found it boring.
Well, it didn't have.
I found it kind of fun. I liked the cast a lot. I was a bit of a revelation for Jim Carrey. I thought, oh my God, he can actually act. And then Tommy Lee Jones. Well, I just love Tommy Lee Jones, full stop. So I liked it. And of course, Sugar and Spice. That is Drew Barrymore, whom I adore.
Yeah. That
I think it's the other one. I just liked her. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to enjoy, but you could take Batman and Robin and stuff Robin up where the sun doesn't shine. I wouldn't miss him at all.
I think you caught Drew Barrymore in her fun phase.
Where
she wasn't all daytime talk show and apologizing for everything all the time. Oh,
I'm sorry. I don't forgive them for the Schumacher films. I mean, I knew what they were trying to be, and I knew what they. And I sat there and I said, "Oh man, I'd rather take a spike and shove it in my ear."
If only Tim Burton had stayed. In the franchise, because he was.
I like Tommy Lee Jones in it, in the Batman Forever. I actually like Val Kilmer. I thought he actually did a very good interpretation of what the character was supposed to be in that movie.
There is supposed to be.
You mean Val isn't short for Valium?
I guess so.
Yeah, I found him pretty bland.
That's the point. I think in that movie, Batman was
hold on. Everybody else. Let me. There is supposed to be a Schumacher cut. If I'm not mistaken, that Batman Forever was one of those production hell films.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, and there is actually like the Air cut of the Suicide Squad, which. Is like this unicorn that Air says is out there, his original film, and then they made studios came in, with all their demands for reshoots, and there's supposed to be a Schumacher cut that is far superior, that people have not been able to see. I don't know if it's true. I mean, not that it isn't out there. I just don't know that it's superior or what. But
Kevin Smith owns it. He has shown it, and I've read the differences. Other than a very different beginning, it shows Tommy Lee Jones breaking out of Arkham. There's not much to it. A lot of it is just air quotes character development, and it's like an hour longer.
Yeah.
And
oh God,
you couldn't honestly probably couldn't pay me to watch it because I'd like to see that beginning, see Two-Face break out of Arkham, but other than that, I wouldn't give a shit.
And I got it. And to go back to the Schumacher one real fast with Batman Forever, when Nicole Kidman tries to talk to Jim Carrey as the Riddler, saying to see if he knows who Batman is, and he does that whole bit with the straitjacket coming out of the dark and look, I'm Batman. I remember seeing that. That scared the hell out of me, and I was like a full blown adult, and I'm like,
forgotten that.
Oh, shit, that scared me for a second. But no, compared
to Cillian Murphy as Jonathan Crane saying, Dr. Crane isn't here right now. It's like, oh my God, that was scary too. That was the best bit of that film.
Yeah. Nolan's just a superior filmmaker. Mm-hmm. Nolan's just a superior filmmaker to anyone that had attempted it before. He had better scripts. And he had better ensemble casting. Mm-hmm. It's just everything is firing on all cylinders. Now, the third movie, you could argue, of the three, not the best, but as a standalone Batman film,
it's decent.
I'll take it. I'll fucking take it.
It'll hold.
It's a Nolan Batman film. What are you really gonna?
I'll take it.
I'll take it. No problem. And I love Anne Hathaway as fucking Catwoman. I know a lot of people can't stand her.
So do I. I actually liked her too.
Oh man, I thought she was just fucking fantastic. And I don't think I've ever seen any Anne Hathaway in anything else. So I didn't see like The Devil Wears Prada or any of that other kind of stuff. I don't. But I like the fact that excuse me. I like the fact that they took that character and made her different. Because in the beginning, you were like she was a villain. But when she was doing the righteous thing in the Nolan film, it came from her character because she was more of a rebel than. Well, she's one of those. She's one of those.
I'd like to go back to the character of Catwoman in Batwoman.
Hold on, Gia. She was Hathaway started out as one of those eat the rich, kind of socialists almost, and then she saw what actually happens when that plan sort of implements itself. Yeah. And it's fucking anarchy. Like people are literally eating each other. She's like, oh, maybe I just thought of it figuratively, and the guy that I thought was okay, even though I, was actually Batman, she watches him almost get beat to death. Mm-hmm. Right. The whole city gets held hostage. I thought she was fantastic. Julia, I'm sorry, go ahead. You were talking about Catwoman.
That's okay. I'm just sort of going back to the Catwoman in Batman Returns. She's a vigilante too. She's trying to take down Christopher Walken. I've temporarily forgotten the character, the name of the character he plays. Max Schreck. Is that she's trying to take down Shrek's empire. Now we know he's a villain. Mm-hmm. Right. So in trying to take down Shrek's empire, isn't she also being a bit heroic?
Yeah. But initially, I thought he was trying to take her back because of trying to kill him or kill her.
That's the thing. It's the difference between like a Batman kind of justice and a Punisher kind of justice.
Yeah.
She just wants to kill him. She wants to kill him.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. But I mean, so do I.
But no, that's
Christopher Walken. Max Schreck needs to die.
But that's the pivotal point when Bruce Wayne, at that moment, when he rips off the cowl and says, "You can come home with me."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you don't have to put up with him. And when she hits him and says, "It would be great to live in that room," but he's still here.
Yeah,
and I'm like, damn, because that's what made her character show. Like, even though it was a revenge thing, it was depth.
It's realistic. It's realistic because she turns out to be self-sabotaging.
Mm-hmm. Right.
She's self-sabotaging, and in the way that we all know people who do this, they self-sabotage, and that way they feel that they can control the environment by saying that they predicted the ending. Right. I told you it was going to work out this way. It's like, you're the one who fucked it up and made it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The way that, and that's exactly what she does.
And
it's a great twist. It's not a happy ending. It's a great twist.
She has two great lines that, first off, when she comes in and sees Penguin and Batman and goes, meow. Mm-hmm. Michael, you know my brother Joe. You've known him for a while. Yeah. I saw the movie with him. When he did that and the building exploded, he went, oh, that was fucking cool. My brother Joe never says anything like that. That was fucking. And I mean, that was so. But even when she said, how about a kiss Auntie Claus, and takes the taser.
Stun gun.
And I'm going, oh, what a goddamn great way to take him out. Yeah. I loved it. I really did. I loved that.
I love the scene when she did the meow scene because it's, it's kind of an awkward moment. you got Penguin and Batman just looking face to face, and then just out of the blue, you got this. They've never seen her before. Who the hell is, to pardon my language, who the hell is this bitch doing cartwheels, out of nowhere? And then she just stops there, and they're both just staring at her, and you got that awkward silence. Yeah. And then she kind of shrugs and just goes, meow, just kind of to break the tension a little bit.
It's kind of like
she delivers that line, like she's like, "Oh, hello, what else am I gonna say?"
Hello, I mean? Boys. It was kind of.
We talked about this last week, but one of my favorite lines in the film comes from Walken at the end, and everybody's unmasking themselves, and he's looking, and he's like, "Bruce, why are you dressed up like Batman?" And she's like, "He is Batman, you moron!" And he pulls out that gun and he goes, "Was bang!" It just.
I love.
But that's the same thing. That was so human.
What I love about that scene is after everything Shrek has seen, everything, this whole fucking movie, Selena Kyle, you're fired.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just unrepentant to the fucking end. Oh, God, I love him. God, I love Christopher.
And that was the thing when he said it was like, was bang. No big dramatic pose, no big. You just pulled it up. Fuck you. Boom.
Yeah. Was.
When the last time we see DeVito, he looks like the fucking creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein, coming out of the water.
Bleeding black blood.
He's got that black blood coming out, and he looks disgusting. And what is he going to do? There's that little bit of comedy in it. He's grabbing the umbrella, and it's the carousel. He's like, shit, I picked the cute one.
Yeah, and I actually did. I laughed at that because I'm like, oh man, that does so fucking suck.
Yeah,
I always thought it was a tribute to the Killing Joke. Because in the comic book of the Killing Joke, when the Joker goes to shoot Batman, it's one of his prop guns. Goes,
yeah.
That's what I really did think it was like a tribute to that, but the movie might have come out.
And in Mad Love, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Harley pulls out the gun to shoot the Joker, and it just goes pop.
Oh God damn it! But that was, it did, but that was, and I'm sorry, I love the ending of this movie. When Alfred is driving Bruce Wayne through and he sees the cat and thinks he sees her and he's going to be chasing after her.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes,
forever.
Goodwill to all men and women. And he's petting the cat. And I'm sorry, when she pops her head up right before they cut.
That's a fist pump moment. You know what I mean?
I was like, in my head, I'm going, oh, they're coming back.
Yes.
I remember screaming. It was light.
I really wanted to see if that was going to be in the next movie. If this was going to continue.
Yeah.
Could have done so much.
Yeah.
Could have done so much.
Yeah.
We would have been happier with one, maybe two more Burton movies. But that's that's not the way it played out.
Yeah.
The closest we've gotten is I don't know if Burton would come back and do another Batman movie.
Probably not.
There probably wouldn't be a market for it at this point, especially with James Gunn now. There's no room.
I think what it is people expect it to be as dark as it's been. You know what I mean?
Right.
Burton can do dark, he can do gothic, but he's still Tim Burton. People won't go see
circus feel.
The thing is, now people are going to associate him with like Alice in Wonderland and Willy Wonka and stuff like that. So I don't think if he came back, he might put his heart and soul into a Batman movie, but I don't think it would bring people into the theater, which is a problem.
I like the fact, and even take Danny Elfman, who did the music in the Batman films. And I'm sorry, that Batman theme,
Elfman's score is amazing.
But he brings also that circus carnival feel to his movies.
Oh yes,
I love his mute, and I really do. I love his music, but he really brings that. And if he had to do that again, I bet you he would be like, because he's away from that now musically.
Yep.
But if you remember the mistletoe scene, the music for that is Susie and the Banshees Face to Face, and I was actually listening to it the other day. One of my favorite bands, if not
my very favorite.
Oh yeah, but they're
great.
To bring them back is kind of like getting the band back together, and they already did that. They brought Michael Keaton as Batman back in The Flash,
right?
Yeah. And that's a shame. I would have loved to have seen if he did the old, like if they did The Dark Knight Returns, and he did it with Keaton, and brought it back that way. 10 years, Robin's dead and 10 years after he retired. That would have been a cool interpretation if it was Burton, I think.
It's spun off in too many different directions now.
Yeah.
I just did a video yesterday because Snyder said that he would come back and do those characters if Netflix were able somehow to get the license from Warner Brothers. He would be more than happy to come back and finish the story. But you've got that, you've got Gunn, you've got Matt Reeves. It's too much, and I think Snyder will get to it in about 5 years.
I remember you said that.
I think Gunn is going to flop. I really do believe Gunn is going to flop. His new Superman movie has like 15 different characters in it. I saw the list the other day, and you're like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's too convoluted. It's going to be too convoluted.
I did like who they picked for Lex Luthor, though. I like that actor. I thought he would.
Oh, Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah. No, it's not Jesse. I didn't think it was Jesse.
James Gunn took a Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult. Yeah.
Yeah. I really thought, because when he picked him, I went, all right, he'd be interesting to watch. But I agree with you. It's getting to be the point. It's looking like an epic saga.
Yeah, I liked Eisenberg because I thought he was perfect for the time as this skinny, smarmy little guy who is just jealous and hateful of everybody. He was perfect for like the times of, you see these protests out in the street, and he's representative and you just want to slap him.
Yeah, he was just a little weasel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I didn't like him.
He was just an angry. Yeah, that's the whole point. You're not supposed to like.
I know.
He wasn't comedic like Hackman. In the Superman movies. Miss Tessmacher. Where he's always berating somebody,
or even like
calling them stupid.
Oh, what's his name? I can't remember his name now because I've forgotten him.
Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey. I thought
Spacey was fine.
He was all right.
Hell, I even like John Cryer when he did it for television.
Smallville, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he did, or like one of those spoof-off things that was on CW. I saw clips of it on YouTube. I'm going, you're doing a good job there, John. I'll
it is what it is.
Too. For television, he didn't do a bad job playing Lex Luthor. But it's
all right.
I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No, go right ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, I can ramble on about what's wrong and what's right with comic book movies till
That's another discussion.
I'm pulling the reins back on the sleigh, Mike.
That's all. That's an everyday conversation. Eric's right. That's an everyday conversation in the texting room. Okay. Is there anything about this film that we have not discussed? Any points, any scenes that anyone would like to get into? Because I don't want to. Because this really is a good movie.
Honestly, what I liked in this movie, again, you have the flashy villains, you have the disgusting stuff with DeVito. I didn't like it as a kid, and we've always discussed how tastes change or interest change as you grow older when it comes to movies. I really dig this. I don't know if it's Romeo and Juliet, but to a lesser extent, relationship between Bruce and Selena. You know what I mean? Because it really is one of my favorite scenes. I mean, I love how they're having fun in the mansion, they're making out, but then you see, that the news report. So they got to find out ways to ditch each other. You know what I mean? They're both talking Alfred. Or I love the scene where they repeat the mistletoe line to each other, and you're just like, oh shit. Yeah. That really sucks for them because you know it's not going to work out. But if you don't read the comics, Bruce and Selena, they do become lovers and stuff like that. But it's not going to work out. But you just have that little bit of hope. Yeah. Maybe they will for a little bit in this movie. And you actually, because Selena's not a good person, she'll butcher you in a second. Right. But you feel for her when she slowly repeats that line. You know what I mean? Yeah. You see, and it's because Michelle Pfeiffer, she's fucking perfect in anything. She's got that one single tear, the look in her face that she gives to Michael Keaton. And she says, is this the part where we fight? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or when she, we mentioned it before she kills Christopher Walken. Bruce, I'd love to be, go live in your mansion just like out of a fairy tale. Right. You feel sad for
her. But I just couldn't live with myself.
Right. I just couldn't live with myself. And it adds so much depth to forget the fact it's a comic book movie, to an even action film. The way they portrayed these two characters. It also worked really well. No joke intended. Michael Keaton turned around and said, one of his favorite parts with doing that movie was the fact that him and Michelle Pfeiffer used to live together.
Mm-hmm.
When they were young in Hollywood, they dated for a while, and they broke up amicably. So he goes, so when we got to flirt, it was kind of just going back into that old rhythm.
Yeah.
And he goes, and it was, and we knew nothing was happening. I was with somebody, but it was comfortable. You didn't have to fake that. We still cared for each other.
Yeah.
So to have that really come across well, I'm usually not into that type of casting, but they made it work. They brought depth to these characters, and I think it's also the reason why I like the end.
It's one of those things where I think 30 years ago, they sort of emphasized how broken Selena was.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You hadn't gotten to the point in the counterbalance where you start to show how broken like Bruce is. Mm-hmm. Which we get to in later incarnations. All the way where we get to Snyder. And there's just that one scene where he wakes up, like he's having this nightmare, and he wakes up and he's got some nameless woman in his bed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There are like wine bottles all over this bedroom. Right. The first thing he reaches for are all these pills, and it starts to show you like what the long-term damage is of what, it's been doing to him for, 20 years now. He's just,
right.
It's like Daniel Craig's James Bond, when they start to, it's just drinking and pills now that kind of holds him together, to just keep doing this sort of thing. Here, Bruce Wayne is a much larger source of light than other Batmans are later on, and you appreciate that. You appreciate it. You appreciate
exactly
because it's more of a contrast, into what she could be. If she was looking for justice, but she's not. She's looking for revenge.
Right.
And so that takes her down a completely different pathway. Even though he's trying to redirect her, she can't make it's a bridge too far.
Okay, what do you think would have happened if Selena Kyle hadn't killed Max Schreck?
In this version, in a Burton movie, it probably would have been some happy, reasonably happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
It probably would have.
No. Max Schreck would have gotten off with his lawyers and his connections. He would have sleazed his way out of all charges, and he'd go back to doing exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
See, I would agree with you if it wasn't for the Bruce Wayne aspect of it, who probably would have enough to bury Schreck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Schreck would have gone away to Blackgate or something like that.
Where he'd have just
I don't think it's something Selena could.
His kind would always be trying to sleaze their way back into power.
I think he would have tried, but I don't think it would have happened. I don't think that's something Selena could have accomplished, but I think together they probably could have had a reasonable response. And, his implications and what he had been doing with Cobblepot, running, these crime families, together, and organizing all this other shit. So I think it would have.
And also, if you were going that way, that if she said yes, I'll go off to the palace with you, Bruce. He knows who Batman is.
Right.
He may try to go after him, and it was funny because a big response would have been, Bruce Wayne, who the fuck you kidding?
Yeah.
I mean, they could have actually played that bit for a laugh, but he would know, so that would make him an arch villain.
Yeah. He has to be dealt with
or considered insane. They put him in Arkham because they said, no, Bruce Wayne couldn't be.
Which I could see Max Schreck in Arkham. That would work.
I mean,
I could see Walken in Arkham. Now Walken's about to Walken's in Dune 2.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
He's playing the Emperor.
I think he'll do a great job at it.
Yeah, it looks like old school King of New York Christopher Walken, that Abel Ferreira kind of cold-blooded, bastard son of a bitch kind of thing. And I'm very much looking forward to that. But I always look forward to Walken. So in any form.
Exactly.
All right. I think we are in the part of the stream where we rate the film. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5, up by halves, all the way to 5. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather pick a stranger's nose and eat the booger than watch this movie again, all the way to 5, which is, this is cinema. This is the destination. This is why I watch films in the first place. Eric, how would you rate Tim Burton's Batman Returns?
Well, definitely no stranger booger eating. I'm gonna give it a 4. I'm gonna give it a 4 because I love the performances. Everyone involved. I love the look of it. I love it now more as an adult. The adult themes to it. You know what I mean? This isn't just this isn't '89 Batman. They amped it up. Danny DeVito is just so good at just being so disgusting, and you can tell he's enjoying it. A lot of times when I watch this movie, they do a good job with the winter aspect because you feel cold a lot of the times. I feel
it's
cold.
A Christmas movie. We should have talked about that. It's a fucking Christmas movie. That was the whole point of picking this. Yeah. And
because you got the ice the ice princess lights up the tree and then she's thrown through it later. Remember?
Yes.
But I just don't like trees. I'm an actress. Yeah. And I laughed out loud then, and I laughed out loud now.
Yeah. We should have mentioned her. She was clearly very, that was
the tree lights up, and then I push the button. No, I push the button, and then the tree lights up. Perfect, beautiful, dumb blonde. But it's a fun movie. You had the darkness to it. You had the lightness to it. You had the love story. One of Burton's best, and I am a Burton fan before all the goofy shit came out, the Alice in Wonderland and stuff like that. It's one of his best, I think his last great movie was probably Big Fish, but I'm definitely giving it a well-deserved 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. John, what do you got for us?
Well, last week with the Chuck Norris movie, I gave it 2 scores, only because I didn't want Chuck to hunt me down.
Yeah, now he's still having that nightmare.
And look at the hat I'm wearing. It's a disguise. It's for an action film, I was giving it a 3.5. But as a Christmas film, I'm giving it a 4.5. I don't know. The Christmas themes in this are very strong. And there's a bit
John, you only get to give 1 score.
So I'll make it a 4.
Okay.
And no, it's the Christmas themes in this, because we were talking about, it's bitter.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. Sometimes during this holiday, it can be bitter. And my God, and at the end, and again, when she raises her head, in my head, I was going, oh my God, there's hope, type deal. I really thought for a Christmas movie, was it cinema? No. But no, I'm not picking somebody else's burger. I'm giving it a 4.
Okay. Fair enough. And then eating it. You can't just pick the burger. You have to eat it.
Oh, well, if I got to eat it, then.
Yeah. So you would have given it a 3.
No.
Do you think of this 0 rating? Do you think of that off the top of your head, or do you have a bunch written down in front of you?
No, I don't have anything written down in front of me. Good grief. What kind of channel
do you think prepares for this show?
Fair enough.
That'd be a first. Julia, what do you got for us? Tim Burton's Batman Returns.
Well, I'm giving it a 5. And the reason I'm giving it a 5 is because you won't let me give it a 6. So,
you're right,
to me, this is cinema. This is what I live for. This is the kind of thing I hope to get when I watch a movie, and very rarely do. I was completely emotionally involved from beginning to end every time that I've seen it. There's no scene that makes me think, just get on with it already. I love the performances. Michael Keaton, I must here mention Pacific Heights. If you want to see Michael Keaton do bad, go watch Pacific Heights. He's incredible.
Agreed.
Michelle Pfeiffer, I love. If you ever seen Dangerous Liaisons, how beautiful and how moving she is in that.
Okay.
Christopher Walken as in King of New York. Again, a great example of standing there doing nothing and totally giving out so much in his stillness. I was surprised at how much I liked that film, for example. I wasn't prepared to like it, but I ended up really being so impressed with his performance, because from the moment you see him, you know he's going to die. He's pretty much decided, that made me tear up when I saw it, and still does now.
Right.
So the cast. I loved the music. I loved the soundtrack. I loved Danny Elfman. I loved Susie and the Banshee. It was just beautiful and moving and intense and fulfills all the senses. And of course, Danny DeVito scared the hell out of me.
Good for you.
So I'm giving it 5.
Okay, 5.
Thank you for mentioning Pacific Heights. Yes. I was just in a conversation with somebody about that. I had no idea what it was. Great movie.
Good movie.
Yeah.
All right, that brings me to me. I am going with a 3.5. I think John is right. It's not cinema, but I think it's high-level entertainment. And, I have 3 categories. I just have content down there at the bottom. It's very pyramid-shaped, very hierarchical. I have entertainment, which I think comprises the vast majority of things. And then at the highest point, you have cinema. I would call this high-level entertainment. And for all the reasons that we've talked about, you have fantastic and nuanced performances for a story that vacillates in terms of the strength of its script for me. But when it's firing all thrusters. When you're seeing Michelle Pfeiffer walk into the room after she's been dropped out of the window and Walken's face, and she's got that new assertive tone, it's just fantastic to watch. When you're anything with DeVito, up until, and I'll get to that. When you get to DeVito and just how evil he is and sort of inhuman, that works for me. Keaton, to a lesser extent of the 4, but just plays it great. I think he's a great Bruce Wayne. And he's an okay Batman. He's an okay Batman, but I think he's a very good Bruce Wayne. And then Walken, who I just think steals every scene in the movie. He even can steal it from Michelle Pfeiffer, which is no small thing to do in this film.
Right.
The reason that I'm not giving it something higher than a 3.5 is because I think that it has an inconsistency, like I said, in the script, in the story, in the tone. And it vacillates with the circus gang, where it suddenly just becomes campy and comedic. Where is this coming from? When we get to the scene where, and we didn't talk about this because it's really not that big of a deal, but for me, it was a detractor. When he commandeers the Batmobile. I was like,
going to ask you about that.
It was a little weird. It was like I'm in a video game or something. Like, what the hell am I doing? And then we got to the suicidal penguins, and I'm just like we just went from killing all the firstborn, like the Moses story with Ramses, and then we've got penguins with jetpacks. That's not enough to tank the movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it is enough for me to take away from a higher, like a 4.5. Which otherwise I think without those things, I probably would give it a 4.5, which is where I rate most Batman films, definitely in 4 or above. So I would go with the 3.5. It's extremely dark, but I haven't seen it in 20 years, but watching it today, thoroughly enjoyed it. But at the same time, it isn't anything I'm probably going to go to next year. It'll be another 5 years or so before I could watch this. It isn't anything that I want to just go out and purchase. I got to have this now. I did with the other movies. So
we'll definitely say there's a big difference of watching this the first time in 20 years and then Invasion USA for the first time in 20 plus years.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a better chance.
I was a little remorseful about that last week. I was like, this is the worst movie I've picked.
No, I was real close to saying if I had the choice, it would be this movie that I would wedge between Christmas Carol with George C. Scott and It's a Wonderful Life than having Invasion USA in between those two movies.
Next week we are on The Lethal Weapon, so that will be I think a worthwhile discussion. And the movie I was sort of framing the Christmas theme around. And if anybody's having a rough Christmas, it's the characters in that film. So,
hey, Mike, if you get a chance, I got to double check the website, the group of movie theaters that I work for.
Okay.
the one in Rio Grande is showing not Lethal Weapon, but Die Hard.
Die Hard, yeah. My local Regal Cinema is showing Die Hard too. Yeah, it's back in cinema if you want to watch it on the big screen. I've seen it so many times though. I know it by heart.
Lethal Weapon. I know you said Lethal Weapon, but in my head I went Die Hard. So sorry, it was my mistake.
All right, Eric, plug something.
YouTube channel, Hey Internet Eric here. Slowly going through the Rocky series, the Rocky franchise. Recently, I just put up a video, not movie related at all. You know, I've mentioned it on this channel, and Mike knows I have a local wrestling federation, literally 10 minutes from my house, Windy City Pro Wrestling. And it's kind of a personal video, you know, just, you know, what the federation itself has done for our local community. You know, helped me kind of come out of my shell and reaching out to interview people for my channel and stuff like that. And just not be so much of a damn introvert. You know, it's helped me and my daughter have a little bit of a bond. So it was probably my most personal video I've ever done in a long fucking time. I'm actually kind of proud of it, the way it came out.
Nice.
But aside from that, I am talking Rocky. I'll have Rocky 2 up by maybe Friday, then Rocky 3 up by, I don't know, maybe Monday or Tuesday. And then I'm just slowly going through the franchise. I will talk the director's cut of Rocky 4, you know, after I talk Rocky 4,
Rocky
the original.
Drago, right? That's what it's called.
And then around Christmas time, I'll probably throw a couple, just to break up the monotony of Rocky, a couple Christmas movies in there to talk about. I have no clue what they'll be. I'll probably just pull something out, you know, off my shelf and discuss it. But Hey Internet Eric here is the YouTube channel.
All right. John, anything?
Two things real quick. Mike, the Holdovers. I think I got the poster for you. I need your address.
Yeah, let me know.
So, you know, and then number two, this is for anybody out there who has not seen the Tim Burton movies or that series of Batman that we're talking about. I didn't know this until I saw the Batman Returns today. They're showing all 4 Batman movies on Tubi. Yeah, Michael Keaton and all that things, and everybody, for anybody especially younger than me, which is I think everybody in this room. The point about it, if you had not a chance to see it, see where Nolan got his ideas from, or how far he knew he could take it by seeing this. It's not a step back; it's more of a step to the side. I highly recommend for anybody to take a chance looking at it.
I would certainly advise at least looking at the first 2 the first Burton films. Batman and Batman Returns. I think by the time you got to Schumacher, I don't see too many parallels with Schumacher and Nolan, but yeah, I would definitely look at those
you can see where it goes. You can see where it goes wrong when we say the suits come into the movie.
I don't know how much time you want to spend looking at a train wreck. You know.
Yeah, you never know, man. Look at it and go, "Oh, this is what they're complaining about." I got
this is why this is why everybody hates
this is why they're bitching about it. I got it.
Well, when the Blu-ray of Batman and Robin opens up with an apology from Joel Schumacher, that says a lot. But you know what? God bless him. I'll give him credit. The fact that he's taking it on the chin and doing something like that, that does say something.
Who knew?
Yeah. Julia.
Hello.
Tell us something.
Well, firstly, watch 30 Coins.
Okay.
Definitely watch 30 Coins. Secondly, there's a movie coming out called Evie, E-V-I-E, and its tagline is Evil Has a New Name. And it's recently gotten a huge distribution deal globally. And so there's DVD and TV on demand releases in the States. Basically, I got to see it at a film premiere 2 years ago, the little pub theatre called The Hen and Chickens in Islington. And it was wonderful. I wasn't sure what I was going to get, but different from your usual horror movie, very intense, quite brutal, a few plot twists. Excellent acting.
It's
so if
Amazon
you get a chance
Prime.
to see Evil Has a New Name, grab it with both hands and enjoy. And finally, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Morgan Scorpion, and there's a lot of ghost and horror stories on it.
Good. Very
There you
good.
go.
Very cool. We're actually trying to get that in the movie theater that I work at specifically, Evie.
No, I can't give you specifically, apart from Amazon Prime in the US, and there's also some TV on demand ones. So which TV on demand precisely, I don't know yet.
We're trying to get it to show it as a retro type thing, in effect, to show it in the movie theater. I have a manager who she's used to work for Trauma Films. We used to do these really low budget horror movies and such, but she loves this stuff. You know,
oh,
her
right.
and I will sit and talk about it the whole time. And she told me about Evie. So she's trying to get it so she can have a weekend showing of it at the movie theater.
I would say if you can see it on the big screen, because it's got there's things to it that makes it ideal for the big screen.
Yeah, very cool. If it happens, I'll let you know. I know you're not going to jump on a plane to see it, but I'll let you know that I got to see
that's not going to happen. Yeah. But I'm being sent a DVD copy because I've said nice things about online. They're sending me a copy. I've met one of the producers, and she's lovely. Julie Foy.
Very cool. Very cool.
Awesome. All right. For this channel, this week I have put out videos, and I'm very surprised about this. This is the second video I've done about it. Denzel Washington has been cast with being directed by Antoine Fuqua in a Netflix special where he's going to play the Carthaginian general Hannibal.
All right.
Right. It's getting a lot of pushback. A lot of pushback
it will.
Because of the race swapping aspect of things. The people of Tunisia, where, I guess they say Carthage, actually was. Now it's modern day Tunisia. Deeply offended by this. People saying, well, Hannibal wasn't a black African, he was more, Semitic or, white, this sort of thing. For me personally, I just keep posting about it because now that first I put that was out there because the guy who's writing the script is John Logan, who did like Gladiator and like 3 or 4 other like spectacular scripts directed by Fuqua, starring Denzel. It sounds like a 4-alarm fire, but some people don't like it. For me, I saw Denzel. One of the first times I ever saw Denzel was 30 years ago when he played Don Pedro in Brana's Much Ado About Nothing, which was a race swap, and I thought he hit it out of the park.
Oh yeah,
he hits everything. He hits everything out of the park. He just did Macbeth for Apple TV. Obviously, Macbeth was not black. But I think that it's it's the internet, so people want to argue. I just did a video on that. I did a video yesterday. That was 2 days ago. Yesterday, I did a video about Snyder, saying that if Netflix now acquires the license to his characters that he needs from Warner Brothers, more than happy to complete his story. That makes me happy, and I predict that it will happen within 5 years. Which would be right around the time for Darkseid to arrive, because he says we have to go the old ways at the end. Prepare the Armada. We're going to have to use the old ways. So about 5 years would do it. And then on Friday, it looks like I'm going to have an impromptu interview with Spider Dabrowski. And Spider is back, and he has been on the show previously to discuss his screenwriting success for a Tubi original film called Teardrop, which was a horror film.
He's been on twice already, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's been twice already. And then once we just came on to shoot the shit, I think. It was right before when the strike broke.
Okay.
We wanted to he's got a new movie coming where this is his first time doing a big budget production as a director for a psychological horror film called Down Below. And he's going to have Eric Roberts, Alexis Knapp, who looks like she might be joining for the interview on Friday. She was in the Percy Jackson films. She's been in Family Guy. She's been in The Orville. And several other films. It's going to have Bei Ling, who was the Asian woman who played in The Crow.
Yep.
Dumplings, villainess in Dumplings.
Yes.
That's a must-see movie, by the way.
Oh God! And now I can't think of his name. He played Abe Sapien and
Doug Jones.
Yes.
Doug Jones is going. So this is his first time directing, and he's landed 4 whales to get there in front of the camera for him. He got sidelined because it's a Christmas movie. He wanted it to be released in time for Christmas, but then the strikes happened.
Right.
So everything is in post-production now.
Right.
And everything is happening, but he wants to start to drum up the press. So he reached out. So I'll have him on Friday, and hopefully Alexis is going to join. And then we'll definitely have, we're supposed to have Eric Roberts on when the movie does drop next year.
Good for you.
So I'm looking forward to that conversation on Friday, because Spider's just a cool dude.
Yes.
He's a really good guy, really easygoing, laid back
great
fellow.
Person to be interviewed because he can just shoot the shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's very everyday, conversation, and he always says these are like backyard conversations when he comes on. He's just sitting down, like drinking beers and shit like that and just shooting the shit. So Friday, that will be good. And then next week, we will, in the show before Christmas, get to Richard Donner's Lethal Weapon. So it's going to be a bit of a busy week. And you never know what else is going to happen in terms of relevant content.
What do you say? Would you like a shot at the title?
Yeah, that's it. Gary Busey. We're going to be talking Gary Busey as Mr. Joshua. Clearly one of the more demented, villains. With that lighter where he's lighting his arm on fire. So there's lots to talk about there and to unpack.
Oh, absolutely.
Mel Gibson. We haven't really talked much Mel Gibson. I think Bill and I did Apocalypto once, but that's not in front of the camera. So, Okay. My thanks to everybody. This went on a little longer than I intended, but here we are, almost at the 2-hour mark. My thanks to Eric from Hey Internet Eric here.
Of course.
My thanks to John K. Alvarez, a.k.a. Cool Chris Kringle. And my thanks to Morgan Scorpion, who's kind enough. It's almost 3 a.m. there in the UK. I do appreciate
I'm wide awake.
Very much. I know you are. I know you're a night owl. But I appreciate it anyway. It means a lot to me every time you do this. So my thanks to everybody here. Pardon me. We will see you all in the next video. All right. Take care, everybody.
Cheers.